Just making the sounds of warm-up. No. Okay, so we'll start. Okay, so today is September 14th, 2019. Okay, so we'll start with the homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, good morning, everybody. And for those people who are online and who are depending on looking at the text projected onto the wall, we had a little problem this morning, which is why we're running late. My computer has locked me out, and to get in, I need the password, and the password, hopefully, it is on my other computer in Taishu Hall. And I don't want to run down there to try to get it. So we're operating today without the computer and without the ability to project the text onto the wall. So I have to teach out of the book, the old-fashioned. Okay, at least this is working. Okay, so today we come to Sutta number, very diligent student. Sutta number 127. So this is, the title of the sutta is Hutaka. And so first we'll read the text, then I'll explain. Okay, so the sutta opens when the Buddha is living in Savatthi at Jeta's Grove. And then it said that deep in the night, a young deva named Hutaka approaches the Blessed One, the Buddha. And when he approaches, he thinks that he will stand in front of the Buddha, but when he came in front of the Buddha, he sank down, he descended, and could not remain in place. And so this is just like when ghee or oil is poured on sand, it sinks down, descends, and does not remain in place. Okay, then the Buddha says to Hutaka, create a gross body, Hutaka, and then Hutaka creates a gross body. Then he's able to pay homage to the Buddha, and then he stands to one side. Okay, first, who is this deva named Hutaka? Previously, as a human being, this being who is now the deva Hutaka was a prince of the city of Alvi named Hutaka Alavaka. And amongst the disciples of the Buddha, amongst the lay disciples, he was proclaimed as one of the two foremost male lay disciples of the Buddha. Who was the other most prominent male lay disciple of the Buddha? Does everybody agree with that? She said Anathapindika. Anybody have any other ideas? The Chinese name is? Mahanama, no. Okay, the other one maybe you're not so familiar with. It's not Anathapindika, interestingly. Anathapindika is, I don't remember the Pali designation, but he's the chief of, you could say, of lay support, lay supporters of the Buddha. I think it's Upataka, of lay supporters of the Buddha. But interestingly, even though so many suttas are directed to Anathapindika, and the Buddha is always, very often he's dwelling in Anathapindika, is the monastery donated by Anathapindika, but Anathapindika is not proclaimed one of the two chief male lay disciples. Probably the reason is that Anathapindika, though he was very generous, his attainments were not up to the level of the other two. So these two are Hutaka of Alvi, and the other is called Chitta Gahapati, the householder named Chitta. And Chitta has a complete chapter dedicated to him in the Anguttara Nikaya, chapter 41. And Chitta was very, very intellectually acute. He was even able to give Dhamma discourses to the monks, and sometimes he could even trip up the monks with tricky questions. And then when the monk gets flustered in his answer, then Chitta gives the answer himself to the question. So there's Chitta the householder and Hutaka of Alvi. We already met Hutta of Alvi earlier in the chapter of the threes. I think it's Sutta number 35 or 36. Yeah, Sutta number 35 in the Book of Threes. And this is a sutta where the Hutaka comes across the Buddha who's living out in the open during the cold season, the winter time. And he asks the Buddha whether he slept well. And the Buddha says that, yes, I've slept well. The enlightened ones always sleep well. And then Hutaka is puzzled since the Buddha is sleeping out in the open just spreading his extra robe. And the Buddha explains that when the mind is free of greed, hatred, and delusion, one always sleeps well. Okay, so the name Hutaka, it's based on the word hata, which means hand, in Sanskrit, hasta. And there's a background story that explains the origin of this name. The story comes in the commentary, and we don't know how credible it is, but this is the story, that there was a demon, a yaksha, living outside the city of Alvi and was terrorizing the city, gobbling up people from the city. And then to placate the city, Alvi demanded sacrificial victims be offered to him. And the turn came for the king to offer his own newborn son, infant son, as a sacrificial victim to the demon Alvi. But the Buddha realized this was going to take what was taking place, and so the Buddha went to the cave of Alvi, and he engaged the demon in a discussion, and then taught him a sutta and transformed him, converted him to the Dharma. And so Alvi now became a staunch proponent and practitioner of non-violence, non-injury. And so the next dawn, the men from the palace brought the little infant to the demon as the sacrificial victim. But the demon, Alvi, took the little boy, the infant, and gave him to the Buddha. And then the Buddha gave him back to the king's men, and the king's men gave him to the Buddha, and the Buddha recited a blessing on him. And since the boy was passed from hand to hand, he came to be called Hutaka, which is based on the word hand. And interestingly, we don't find suttas that indicate special meditative attainments on the part of Hutaka. And yet Hutaka, it said, one time when the Buddha was giving a discourse, Hutaka was listening to the discourse, and in the course of the discourse, Hutaka attained the third level of enlightenment, the stage of non-returner. And so he had cut off the 5 lower fetters, and so was no longer destined to be reborn in this world, but to be reborn in the fine material realm. And according to this sutta itself, the sutta that we're going to be reading, he was reborn in the lowest of the 5 Suddhavasa, pure abodes. This is called the Aviha Brahma world, or the Aviha pure abode. There's another sutta that occurs later in the Anguttara Nikaya. It's in the Book of Eights. I think it's 23. Yeah, it's actually Book of Eights, Sutta number 23, in which the Buddha praises Hutaka in terms of 7 qualities in which he excels. These 7 qualities are saddha, or faith, sila, virtuous conduct. Third is hiri, the sense of moral shame. Fourth is ottappa, moral dread. The 5th is learning. The 6th is generosity. And the 7th is wisdom. And then he tells the monks, you should remember Hutaka of Alvi as one who possesses these 7, he calls them acharya abhuta dhamma, which means, or translated, astounding and amazing qualities. And then at the end, the Buddha adds an 8th quality by which Hutaka is distinguished, and that is being of fewness of wishes, not having a lot of desires or wishes. And that is because of something. You read the discourse for yourself, and you see why the Buddha adds that quality at the end. And then there is another set of qualities in which Hutaka excelled. And these are called, this is why we don't even have the board here anymore. Okay, easier for me to spell it out. They're called the 4 Sangaha Vatu, Sangaha Vattu, Sangaha Vatu, which I've translated as the means of, means of acquiring and supporting a retinue, or means of attracting people to oneself. And these 4 qualities are giving or generosity. And so it's by giving a gift to people that one sort of wins their favorable impression of oneself. One develops a kind of soft and friendly feeling towards oneself. So through the practice of generosity, even if people have hostile, aggressive relationship, but if you give a gift to somebody, then you sort of dissolve their hostility, and they start to think highly of you and develop a favorable impression, and then they want to get close to you and become your friend and your companion. And so generosity is one Sangaha Vatu, one means of attracting attracting people and acquiring a retinue. Okay, so the second quality, it's pleasant speech, endearing speech, piya vacho. So when you speak pleasantly, agreeably to others, how are you? How is your family? Are you keeping well? If there's anything I can do for you, just let me know. And so when you speak in friendly, polite, kind, agreeable ways to others, even if they're initially hostile, nasty, relate to you in nasty ways, but when you speak to them in these polite ways, praising their good qualities, if you have to criticize them for something, you do it in a very soft and gentle way. Then you sort of dissolve their hostility or dissolve their resistance. Their hearts open up, and then you can establish a relationship, a friendly relationship with them. Okay, the third means of acquiring a retinue, attracting people to oneself, is by engaging in beneficial conduct towards them, doing something to benefit them. And this would be other than giving a gift, since that's covered by the first means. So in this case, say if somebody is engaged in some work, you come over and you say, "Can I help you?" Or if somebody is sick, say, "Can I call a doctor?" Or if they've already seen the doctor, but they're lying in their sick bed, you might prepare some drinks for them, change their bedding, do various things to help them in the time of sickness. What are some other ways? Giving them what is that? Buying them ice cream. That would be giving a gift. If you know some kind of healing art, you could give them some kind of treatment, teach them yoga, bending and stretching exercises. So you do things that are helpful and beneficial to others, apart from giving, again, which comes under the first heading. And then the fourth, there are actually two ways of representing this which have slightly different meanings. One is samanata, so SAMANATTA, and the second A is the long A, the with the bar over it. So the word samana means the same. So literally, samanata, the ta here is the abstract noun ending. So literally, it's sameness. And this means, the way it's explained, is treating others the same as yourself. Which doesn't mean that you treat them exactly according to your own sort of preferences and inclinations. So to pick up an Allison's example, if you go to the ice cream parlor and you like strawberry ice cream, it doesn't mean that you order strawberry ice cream for them, because maybe they like vanilla ice cream or chocolate chip blueberry ice cream. But if you go out for ice cream, you invite them to come along for ice cream. So you treat them the same as yourself. And just as you order what you prefer, you let them order what they prefer. And in many other ways, you treat others the same as yourself. You don't put yourself in a higher position and look down on others, but you look at others the same as yourself, and so you try to treat them just as you would like others to treat you. So this is one way of explaining the fourth method, and that's based on the reading with the ending A-T-T-A. The other reading gives a slightly different meaning. The first part is the same, samana is the same, but here the ending is T-T-H-A. And so here we have at the end, the literal meaning here is the same purpose. So the word is atta with an H, atta, which means aim or purpose. So this is having the same aim, the same purpose. So in that case, you find out, we could take this to mean cooperating or collaborating with others in fulfilling a common aim. For example, say if there is a meditation retreat to take place here and we have to put out more cushions, and so you cooperate and collaborate with others in putting out the cushions, and maybe if there are more cushions are needed, removing the tables and stacking up the tables someplace, and then laying out more cushions here. So you work together. If you're constructing, well, this takes place in monasteries where they're building additional kutis or huts. So everybody collaborates and cooperates in doing work to build the huts. Or in the evening when it's time to sweep the grounds, everybody sweeps the grounds together. Oh, very, okay, that would make it convenient, so I could just write the two different spellings. I was just thinking that this is an example of, we call this atta, the third one is attacharya, beneficial conduct. Yeah, so while they're setting this up, I just relate a story I heard just earlier this week about the days. This is a story that comes from Ajahn Sumedho, the famous American monk. When he first went to stay with Ajahn Chah, I think in the late afternoon, all of the monks would get together and do some work. Maybe it was during the day. In the afternoon, all of the monks would get together and do some work. But Ajahn Sumedho was convinced that he came to this monastery to practice meditation. And so all of the monks in the afternoon would get together and be doing some work. And Ajahn Sumedho, at that time he was just like a young monk, Bhikkhu Sumedho, told his teacher, Ajahn Chah, I didn't come here to do work. If I wanted to do work, I could have remained a layperson in America. I came here to meditate. So Ajahn Chah didn't tell him, you have to do the work. But he just said, okay, you go to you stay in your hut and meditate, and we'll all do the work out here. So all of the monks were working in the afternoon, maybe clearing the grounds, building some kuti or something. And Ajahn Sumedho is sitting in his own hut meditating, and then in the evening when they come together for the evening drink, Ajahn Chah asks Ajahn Sumedho, or Bhikkhu Sumedho, how is your meditation coming? The first day, Ajahn Sumedho says, very good, very good. Then Ajahn Chah says, wonderful, wonderful. You're fulfilling the purpose for which you came here. So then the next day, Ajahn Sumedho starts peeking out the window. He sees the other monks working, and maybe he's thinking, maybe I should go join them. Nah, I came here to meditate. And so the next day he looks out the window a few more times, and a few times thinks, maybe I should join them. But then he thinks, nah, I came here to meditate. And then after a few more days go by, in the afternoon, finally Ajahn Sumedho comes out and joins the crew and starts helping with the work. Okay, so that's the second meaning. So we have these two meanings which are based on different spellings. Let me write them on the board. Okay, so you can see the two different spellings. And then the sutta, which shows how Hutaka practices these four bases of winning over or attracting a retinue. This is in the Book of Eights. It's Sutta number 24, right after the previous one that I mentioned. Okay, so in this case, in this sutta, the beginning, Hutaka comes to the Buddha accompanied by 500 lay followers who are the members of his retinue. And according to the commentary, they were all Arya Savakas, all noble disciples. And then the Buddha sees Hutaka with this large retinue, 500 people coming. And he asks, how have you gathered this large